On this special episode of Supercars Torque, it's the mid-year, so it's time for a silly season update. This is a video that a few people have been asking me for, so it's time for a mid-year silly season update. We may as well start off with the easy ones, the guys who are locked in for next year. The most obvious one is Trueflight. Shane van Gisbergen and Brock Feeney are locked in there. And as far as I know, the sponsors are locked in as well. There is a bit of rumour that Shane might be doing more overseas stuff next year, and people are, putting two and two together and getting 17 and saying that Shane's not going to be around the next year, which that would throw a massive spanner in the works. But I personally can't see it happening. But imagine if it did, the scramble that Triple Eight would have to try and replace him, because who do you replace him with that you not going to have to buy out of a contract? Obviously, there's guys like Mostert or Waters that you could buy out of contracts. But yeah, could you see like a Tander or Lowndes back just for 1 year as a bit of a stopgap while they try and find someone else? Because I don't think their Super 2 guys will be ready for the step up, not if they want the same kind of results that Shane is bringing. The second team locked in for next year is Walkinshaw Andretti United. Nick Percat and Chaz Mostert back there again, unless the results really go badly for Nick and they decide to, end the contract early or something. And as far as I know, both those sponsors are locked in for next year too. The other team that already has both drivers locked in for next year is Matt Stone Racing, surprisingly. Todd Hazelwood and Jack LeBrock were both signed on 2-year deals. Their NTI sponsorship is their Truck Assist sponsorship. That's a 2-year deal as well. So there won't be much movement with that team next year. Now, for the teams where everything isn't quite locked in yet, but the closest, I suppose, to being locked in is Groves. I can't see why Reynolds' contract won't be extended. He's doing an exceptional job for those guys, and they've made it very clear that they want Matt Payne, in that seat next year, and he's going to have his super license. There's no question why he won't be there next year. Next up, Dick Johnson Racing. We don't know because they don't talk about contract lengths, but Anton will be there next year. The question is, Will Davison? My thing is, why would you replace him? He's playing the perfect number 2 role, but everyone's talking about Will Brown going there. This currently, I'd be, if I was looking for an Erebusian for that seat at the moment, I'd be looking at Brody. But everyone's talking about Will Brown going there, one Will for another. I personally, I think it's going to be Davison. Get that continuity in for Gen 3. Why would you replace the perfect number 2? Team 18. Pye has a contract, Frosty doesn't. That's the interesting one there, because I know who I would want to be keeping from that team right now. Could we see Pye's contract getting broken, or will Frosty have to make way for Jimmy Goulding? That's the big question there. Erebus, they've come out and publicly stated that their intention is to keep their 2 current drivers. Unless Dick Johnson Racing comes a knocking and takes one of them, I can't see why they're going to change. So I think these guys are there for next year. Team CoolDrive. Slade's doing a good job. They've got no reason to replace him. Who do you replace him with? The big question here is, I keep hearing rumours about a second car. I'm not sure with the step up to Gen 3 next year, but it kind of makes sense, it kind of doesn't. But then if they do have a second car to fill the seat, Mark Winterbottom is going to be on the market probably. So why would you look elsewhere? He would be a great man for that job. Brad Jones Racing. Jaime has a contract for next year. We can assume, because of their surnames, Smith and Jones will be back again. Forward. He brings the middies back in, but will that be enough for him to keep his seat? There's some guys knocking around with probably similar amounts of funding that, possibly do a better job. Yeah, the performance hasn't been there for Fullwood. Will they go looking for someone else with funding, or yeah, will Fullwood's funding be enough for him to keep that seat again next year? Tickford Racing. Okay, Waters has a contract. He's got the monster funding. He's fine. Courtney has a contract. No funding on that car. What do you do with that? I can see that one, you know, shuffling like they kind of did with Holdsworth. Kostecki, as long as the family keep paying the bills, he is still there. Randall, yeah, hasn't been impressive at all this year. Do you give him another year? You have got Zach Best and Zane Goddard knocking on the door. Both have funding. Yeah, do you kind of move those guys around that are kind of under contract and bring in these guys that do have funding? I'm going to throw a big wild card in the mix here, though. Arca World steps up their funding onto 2 cars, and Kostecki's there for a double Kostecki, yeah, Arca World team next year. Premier Racing. At the time of filming this, it hasn't been confirmed that Jimmy Goulding will be racing for them in Townsville, but is that a long-term thing for Jimmy Goulding, or is he going into that second Team 18 seat or the first Team 18 seat? Yeah, we can assume Pither will be hanging around because of the Coke and Subway funding that he brings. Who will be in that second seat? Do they go after, say, Winterbottom or someone like that? You know, a very experienced, someone who really knows how the game works, or do they bring in another young bloke who brings funding? I think they're, with Goulding going into that seat for the rest of the year, we assume, I think their intention is that they definitely do want to go for some performance rather than just for funding, but yeah, time will tell on that one. So that is my mid-year silly season update. Who would you like to see in the mythical empty Shane Van Gisbergen seat there at Triple Eight? And is there anyone that you think I've kind of missed who should be coming up? Because really it seems to be just a lot of people sitting around and yeah, not too much shuffling going on this year. It seems like it's going to be a bit quiet, but who knows, a spanner in the works could be thrown, like, you know, Shane Van Gisbergen deciding to go overseas, or Nick Percat getting the arse or something like that. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think. But until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.